watching and you want to make a donation, you can go to freegeek.org and you can donate some cash, or you can come in here, donate your technology. Please support Free Geek, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not a punchline, but thank you for laughing. It is funny. It is. Right, let me see that.
I feel like I fell down a well. You hear that? Oh my God, oh my God, Danny, come pick me up. I'm drunk. I fell in a well. Okay.
Again?
How many people saw the early show? By round of applause. Woo! How many people came here just for this show? By round of applause. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for staying. Thanks for coming. We're so excited to have you here. Before we sit down and get to our awesome guests, we should talk about the week that we have had. Bernie Sanders was recently briefed that Russia has been attempting to help his presidential campaign. I don't know if y'all heard about that this week. It's good to know that in these divided times, someone is willing to reach across the aisle. That person is Vladimir Putin. Cheers.
Last Sunday, Trump advisor Stephen Miller got married to Mike Pence's press secretary in an elaborate white wedding. The bride wore a white dress, and the guests wore white hoods.
A British woman played violin during her brain surgery to make sure she wouldn't lose that ability. So that's not fair. Like, she can do that during her surgery, but when I asked my doctors if I'd still be able to masturbate after my wrist surgery, that was weird.
That's unfair. A picture on Instagram shows that pop superstar Justin Bieber has shaved off his mustache, much to the relief of the mustache.
That's it for the team there, buddy.
Yeah, I know I would be. In a garden in Austin, Texas, this week, an extremely rare pink grasshopper was found. Mother Nature has said that she partnered up with the Susan G. Komen Foundation to make this very special edition of the grasshopper.
It's like 10% more than a regular grasshopper.
That's right, that's right.
Rage Against the Machine has announced they are coming to Portland for the first time in 2 decades. And tickets?
Yeah!
Yes. And tickets are going for as much as $800. That might sound like a lot, but the band promises to deliver at least $800 worth of anti-capitalist messaging at every show.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be like $1,000 worth for $800.
What a steal.
Yeah, bring down that machine.
Yeah.
A new study has found that having more than 10 sexual partners throughout your life raises the risk of cancer. So now when a friend asks, how was your date? You can just say, well, at least it wasn't benign.
Is that tumor growing, or are you just happy to see me?
Okay. An Oregon stand-up comic broke a coronavirus quarantine in Cambodia and flew to Seattle because he didn't want to miss a gig he had lined up. He started his act by saying, I just flew in from Cambodia, and boy, are my arms tired. Not from flying, but because my whole body aches from carrying a deadly virus.
I heard it was a hilarious act.
Oh, so good. So
So good, so good.
Crowd crowdfunding platform Kickstarter has successfully become the first major tech company to unionize. Yep, yeah, it's pretty great. Union organizers at Kickstarter have announced that their next step will be to help members pay their fees with a GoFundMe page.
Please donate. Seattle rapper Macklemore just got hired as the executive creative director of Cold Brew at coffee chain Dutch Bros. If the cold brew is as strong as his rap game, it will put you right to sleep.
It'll be like one good coffee and then the rest. Jeff Bezos, the richest guy in the world, said he is committing $10 billion to fight climate change. Unfortunately, just like Amazon delivery, it's too late. Aww, hey, it's late night special! Yay, I'm so excited. We have so many great guests today, Hannah. And thank you for filling in. Hannah's filling in for Jay Fluelling, who's usually our co-host here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give her a round of applause. What's new with you, Hannah?
Well, let's see. Last night I watched a movie.
What did you watch?
It's the sequel to All the Boys I've Loved Before on Netflix.
Okay.
Have y'all seen it? Yeah, I know one person.
Did you see the original one?
Yeah, I saw the first one, and then this is the sequel, and it just came out. It's a Netflix original based on a YA novel, but it's really good. It has Noah Centineo. I don't know. He's really cute. Yeah. And then,
You don't need to know his name.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really good.
I've been watching Sex Education.
Oh, I haven't seen
Has
that.
anybody seen that TV show? It's really good. That's on Netflix as well. It's a British. It's a British sitcom-y thing, but it's a tribute to John Hughes movies. So, do you know what John Hughes movies are, Hannah?
Yeah, I was born after
Yes.
that time, but I am familiar.
Okay, good. So it has like all of this style to it. Like it's very updated. It's very open. It's about, it's called Sex Education. There's a lot of sexuality in it, but it's like all kinds and very progressive while also having this 80s style. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm excited about our first guest tonight. Just finished doing a fundraiser across the hall in our other space. Because you guys came from there. And he is Australian, and so was doing a fundraiser for Australia because of the fires. He is he does stand-up comedy, he does one-man shows, he does storytelling. Just one of the most riveting, hilarious, compelling storytellers I have ever seen. He's done festivals all across the globe. I'm going to bring him out because I'm ready to get to it. Please welcome Jon Bennet.
Everybody, cool. Thanks for having me. I thought actually I'm going to tell you I'll do a little quick story first. Portland is the first place I ever had a one-night stand. Anyone had a one-night stand before?
Never.
Yeah, I mean, you fucking all have. We know this, okay? It's really awkward and everything, and I struggle with Portland a bit because I find this, I've got a terrible sense of direction. And I don't, who knows where north is? To me, I just point upwards. That's how I do north. It's up, right? And I had a one-night stand. I was fucking hammered with this girl after a show, and this is the universe I'm getting hammered. It's not sucking a bunch of cocks. It's a bottle in each hand. That's how we do it in Australia. And what do you guys call it when you got a drink in each hand?
Double fisted.
Yeah, that means something very different everywhere else in the world. Anyway, but in Australia, this is and I was hammered drunk. And I went back to her place, and we had this sort of awkward sex that you do, and then I got up in the middle of the night. I went to go to the toilet, and I walked to the toilet, and I found the toilet, and I was peeing, and as I was peeing, I was like, there's no noise, like when you pee, there's noise, right? For everyone, there's noise. There's noise when you pee. When you pee, there's noise. And I'm peeing, and I'm like, there's no noise. And then I look down, and I'm just filling up the condom around my dick, and I just shoot it against the back of the toilet, and I cover myself in my own piss and jizz. So that was the last time I was in Poland, so it's nice to be back here, is what I was saying. But,
Oh, I remember that. No, I'm just
I do travel around the world doing festivals and doing shows, and I just do the fundraiser here. And I travel around the world. I was doing a show in Edinburgh, the biggest festival there is in the world. Everyone knows where Edinburgh is in Scotland. And it's like a grueling thing. It's like 30 days of shows. And I did 3 shows a day for 30 days, and I did my first show that I wrote. It's called Pretending Things Are a Cock. It's a show about me traveling around the world, making everything my cock. That's a show and a book and a calendar. And then I did another show called Fire in the Meth Lab. That is a show about my brother becoming a meth head and going to jail. It's a pretty light-hearted tale, that one. And then I did a third show. They asked me to do a third show every day for 30 days in Edinburgh. And guess what the third show they asked me to do was?
Who knows?
Kids show. A kids show. They thought the meth guy and the cock guy should do a kids show. And I thought, I can do a kids show. It's easy. Just don't swear. Just don't swear. It's easy. Kids, they're just like they're just like adults. Just don't swear. So I went out on stage and I did my first show of my kids show, and it was always about 200 kids. Not bragging, just 200 kids were there, and I walked out on stage and I started doing my show, and then this little kid just stood up in the middle of the audience. In about the first 5 minutes, he just walked through the audience, climbed up onto the stage with me, and just stood here in front of me, just eating a bag of chips. Just went, yep, just wrap my chips here on stage with you on the stage. It was my first show. In the first 5 minutes, this kid's just eating his chips on the stage with me, and I think, okay, no, you're a professional comedian, just keep on going. You're in Edinburgh, you've been chosen, it's okay, just do your show. So I continue to do my show with this little kid just eating his chips in front of me. And I get about halfway through the show, and another kid just stands up, walks around the side of the audience, climbs up onto the stage as well, and then just starts pushing his back against mine like that. So this kid's eating his chips, this kid's pushing his back against mine, and I turn around to this kid, and finally I break, and I go, what are you doing? And he looks at the audience, and he just says, I'm only 7, and I'm almost as tall as you. Biggest laugh I got in 30 shows was that kid saying that to another. There's nothing worse than 200 kids that bring about childhood bullying and everything, just going, short adult. There's nothing worse than that. This kid just pushing his back against mine. So this kid's pushing his back, this kid's eating his chips. And then I think, no, just keep on going, just keep on going. You're a professional, just keep on going. So I continue with my show. I get about 2/3 of the way through, and another kid stands up, walks around the side of the stage, climbs up onto the set, and there's like a speaker stack with my voice coming out of it. This kid fucking climbs this speaker stack like fucking Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, just climbing up this thing. He finds the one speaker where my voice is coming out of, just grabs it from each side and just screams into the speaker, just goes, no! Just screams no into the speaker where my voice is coming out of. That's my first fucking show. And I continue to do my show, 30 shows, everything just happened. I think just talk to the kids. They're just like, they're not like adults, they're like fucking wasted, drunk adults. So like, I just talk to them, and so I just start talking to them, like, anyone got a joke? And one kid this little ginger kid just raises his hand quite gingerly in the middle of the audience, and I'm like, yes? And he just says, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe.
And then he just smiles and sits down like a fucking little kid. I just called him a poo. I don't know what to do. Second biggest laugh in 30 shows was that kid saying that, me calling him a poo. And I think, no, you do Edinburgh. The only reason you do Edinburgh is so you might get chosen to tour around the UK. And after my show, Fire in the Meth Lab, this guy came up to me and he said, we would like to tour this show. And I was so chuffed. I couldn't believe that my show was selected. This guy came up to me, he gave me a train ticket, and he said, after Edinburgh is finished, get this train ticket, get this train to this place called Easingwold. Now, does anyone know where Easingwold is? No. The population of Easingwold is smaller than the population of this room right now. And so I show up at this little tiny UK town called Easingwold, and I show up to my venue, the address that he has given me, and guess what my venue is?
Kids.
Kids would make sense, yep, nursing home. A nursing home. And I think, no, there must be a comedy club nearby here or something like that. And I walk into this nursing home and I say, is there a comedy club nearby? And she says, no, we've been expecting you. So I have to do my show Fire in the Meth Lab to a bunch of elderly people in a nursing home. And this is a nurse, I need to stipulate now, this is a nursing home, not an old folks home, not a retirement village, no sexy old ladies like Golden Girls, none of that. This is a nursing home where the audience are wheeled out in front of me, and most of them just sit in their chairs like this. And I think, okay, just do your show, you're a professional, just do your show. And there's about 50 elderly people, not bragging, just 50 elderly people were there, and I start to do my show, and immediately, as soon as I start talking, there's an old lady in the front row who just thinks I'm a visiting relative. So she just starts talking to me throughout the entire show. She's like, how are you going? I'm like, I'm fine. She's like, how's your brother going? Obviously not well. He's a meth head and gone to jail. And all these sorts of things that relatives say, oh, you've gotten bigger, which is untrue. I've been the same size since I was 7, just talking to me throughout the entire show. And she's talking to me, and then there's this old lady sitting next to her who hasn't even looked in my direction, just sitting in her chair like this. And she just turns to this woman and just says, he's handsome, isn't he? And this woman who hasn't even looked at me just goes, and then just mumbles, too short. Too short, too short. She didn't even look at me. She didn't even know where I am. I could be in the fucking distance for sure. She knows how tall I am. This woman thinks I'm too short. This woman thinks I'm a visiting relative. And then there's an old man up the back who's just decided to tut and say no after everything I'm saying. So I continue on with my show, and he's like, no, don't like this, no. And I continue with the show, because I'm a fucking professional, ready to cry. And I get about halfway through, and this old lady in the middle, she just raises her hand like this. And I'm like, I don't know, I guess this is how this is going now. And I just say, yes. And she just says, I don't know what's going on. Can you take me home, please? And I say, I don't know, I think you are home. I don't know what this means. And then the woman who thinks I'm a visiting relative, she just turns to this woman and she says, press your buzzer, love. And they've all got these little buttons, these little buzzers hanging around chains around their necks, and this woman just presses her buzzer, and then a nurse comes in and wheels her away. Then can you guess what happens? Buzzers going off through the entire fucking show until the entire audience is just wheeled out of the room. There's 3 people left. The woman who thinks I'm a visiting relative, the woman who thinks I'm too short, and the fucking old man saying no. He's decided to stay for the entirety of the show and just talk about no. And I finished the show. I'm a fucking professional. And I just say, thank you very much at the end of the show. And the woman who thinks I'm a visiting relative, standing ovation from her, standing ovation, which is amazing because she's in a wheelchair. And as they're wheeling away the woman who thinks I'm too short, the nurse just says, did you enjoy that, love? And the old lady finally turns her head and just says, it was better than sitting in my room alone. That's my story about my tour after. Yeah, that's it. Sit here? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit on my little battery pack.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That sounded like a blast.
Yeah. This is what happens when you travel around touring. You get some real good ones.
Was that the only gig you got out of that Edinburgh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Afterwards, the guy was like, we don't want to tour this anymore. This isn't the old folks home special we thought it was going to be.
yeah, but you got one.
I got one.
And I think that's all that counts.
Better than most.
That's what, when I first heard about Edinburgh, like it sounded like such an amazing thing, and then I started to know more traveling performers, and I would ask them how it was, and the answer was always like, oh yeah, it was a journey.
It's good because you're all on the same page. So the first time I did Edinburgh, the show after mine was David Hasselhoff.
Wow.
So I got to see David Hasselhoff every single day. And if you think Kanye is deluded, fucking Hasselhoff. He's like, I'm going to take this to Broadway. And I was like, this is not going to Broadway. It's the weirdest show I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
But it might, because it was David Hasselhoff.
True,
like that's
true,
the thing, you never
true
know.
That. Yeah.
My worst Fringe experience was in Calgary.
Yeah.
So Edinburgh Fringe Festivals, just for those of you who don't know, sort of evolved as an alternative to traditional theater festivals because they have a very narrow definition of what theater can be. And so Fringes sort of evolved to have one-man shows, storytelling, stand-up comedy, clown, dance, experimental theater. So you get all kinds of things. The price is low to encourage you to take more risks and see more things. And they're juried, not juried, they are lottery. You apply with a lottery to get in, although Edinburgh's a little bit different. And sometimes you can self-produce. So we did Calgary with Joyride, and we were in that church.
Oh, that's never, yeah, don't worry, never a good one.
Yeah, we were in a church sanctuary, and we had this sketch that was pretty clean, really. It was just euphemisms for sex. These co-workers getting together, and I kept saying things like, put your thingy in my down there, and whatever. And like, after the first time I would say it, I would always get a big laugh. We'd move to the church venue, the first joke comes out, nothing, and then just flop sweat, being like, if you didn't like the first one, you're not gonna like the next 2 minutes at all. But the very first night we opened there was skunks. Skunks fucking outside.
Fucking? Like just, or fucking outside?
No, fucking. They were having sex.
Wow.
They were making love. Skunk love. Mad skunk love. Outside, and it reeked so bad that we were tearing. Everyone was just weeping in there.
So skunks make the smell when they're also jizzing?
Yeah. I mean, it was just overrun with skunks. They had a sign on the door we saw after it said, please keep this door closed to keep the skunks out. We wish we were kidding. Apparently there was 2 older women who lived nearby who fed the skunks, and they created a skunk problem.
Oh, I do that too. I love that.
Yeah.
I love skunks. I've chased skunks, and my friends are like, don't go near them, don't go near them. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to be sprayed. That's cool.
But it was like getting pepper sprayed in your face. It was
make
so
you cry?
intense.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That happened. I thought my friend told me that I said I can smell weed everywhere because weed is not legal in Australia. And I said I smell weed everywhere, and they were like, no, it's just the skunks smell. And then I said, oh, is that why some weed is called skunk? And they were like, yeah. And then I told someone like 2 years later, and they're like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing at all.
Yeah, it is.
They are smoking weed. They're all smoking weed.
For sure. Yeah.
But Calgary Fringe, so some festivals they set you up with people to stay with, like locals to stay with. And I stayed with this family, this elderly woman and this old man, and you stay in their like house. And they had this son. And the first conversation we had was about murderers, which, you know, fine. A very intense detail about murderers.
Right.
And then the son would drink like a gallon of coffee every morning. He never said anything, and he'd just sort of do that cat look from around the corner, you know, just to see if I was in there. And then I texted my friend, and they said we had Chase and Ross here last year. And I texted Chase, and I was like, I got your billets from last year. What are they like? And he just wrote, bacon for breakfast or weird son?
Yeah.
And I wrote back in capitals, oh, it's definitely the weird son one.
Yeah, he and I stayed in the bacon for breakfast. So
Yeah, the good one.
better.
The
Yeah,
good one.
much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I stayed in the weird son place.
Now, where in Australia are you from?
I am from rural South Australia. So, the place that has been pretty burnt. And then I moved to Melbourne, which has also been pretty burnt as well. So the whole country is fucked at the moment. And
And how does it feel to be traveling and be away when this is happening?
It's very weird. So that's why I've done a lot of these fundraisers. I did one in Orlando where we made about $6,000. It was great. That was a good one. Unfortunately, Portland, we made probably about $500. But that's fine. And if I'm selling these buttons, I'll put them out the front and everywhere. This one says, I don't like jokes. That is an actual quote from what my dad said to me once. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I just don't find them funny. Jokes, he means all jokes in the world. And there's a button that says, I love meth. That is about my brother being a meth head and going to jail. And then I've got one that says, I pretend things are a cock. So any money you give me for those, I'm sending straight to my family. It's not going through a charity. I'm just sending to them to disperse around this island called Kangaroo Island, which they now live on which half of that has been burnt down. I don't want to be a downer now, I feel bad.
No, it's
but,
okay.
yeah, so that's all going to go to that. So
And
any
so
money,
people can just throw some cash up
just
there.
chuck whatever
and
you
you'll
want,
get it
and that
directly
will,
to.
I'm going to give it straight to them, because I feel like charities get bogged down in politics and all that sort of stuff. And
Right.
you find out that all your money has gone to admin fees and that sort of stuff. So I like that my sister-in-law is just getting it and dispersing it amongst the wildlife refuges and these sorts of things on Kangaroo Island.
So what are things like there right now? Because I have, we heard all about it, and have the fires.
Well, we're all angry at coronavirus, right? Remember when
Right.
the Australian fires were like
Yeah.
a hit thing and everyone was great and you're making
Right.
$6,000 and then coronavirus happened and you're making $500 in Portland. So it's everyone's forgotten. It's not sexy anymore.
Right.
So it's still 2/3 of the fires are burning. They have been contained. It rained, and when it rained, I fucking cried. I couldn't believe it. My mum texted me and was like, "It's raining," and it was amazing. But it's really hard to get a text over the other side of the world, and so that's why I'm doing these fundraisers, because it's hard to be so far away when I don't care about the people.
The
I
animals
care about
that are
the
getting
animals.
it.
The animals
Yeah.
I'm so sad about. And
Yeah.
1 billion animals have fucking died. So it's like, we really want, there's one of the charities that my sister-in-law is giving to is an animal that lives only on Kangaroo Island, and they're afraid that it might go extinct, but they found one. And it's this little, like everything in Australia, it's this little weird fucking cute rat type thing. But they're trying to save that. So that's one of the charities.
It's been pretty cute, the people holding koalas
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like little babies has been pretty amazing.
Yeah, my brother's house has 2 kangaroos in it right now, which
Oh my God.
is not real. Like people think Americans are like kangaroos everywhere, and I'm like, no, they're not. We're a normal country.
Yeah.
But my brother has 2 kangaroos in his house right now. One's called Possum, and he keeps sending me videos of her, and she's fucking beautiful. And she's a little Joey, and he just whistles and holds his shirt open, and she'll be bloop, and jump into his shirt, and then he feeds her milk. Yeah, it's very cute.
That is the cutest thing
Yeah,
ever.
but he's got it because her fucking mum died, okay?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You brought it back up, and then you threw it back down.
That's what I do.
Are you
So-
planning on going back soon, or?
No, I'm here for a couple more weeks, and then I'm touring around America and Canada, so I'm not going back, which is also quite hard because usually I am there at this time. So yeah.
So last thing before I let you go, we were talking about your show, Pretending Things Are Cocked. So it's a slideshow, and they're all photos where like the Leaning Tower of Pisa is that what's in your
I've done
poster?
both.
Yeah.
So the Pizza Tower and
Pizza Tower and then
the
the
Pizza
Leaning
Tower,
Tower of
yeah.
Pisa. 2 different but equally magnificent wonders of the world. And you said this has been kind of your biggest. Would you say that was has been your most popular?
That's my most popular show. Yes,
Oh.
of course.
And
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you have talked about wanting to perhaps bequeath it to.
You're keen on this, right?
Yeah, I will totally do this.
So
having women do it.
Yeah, that show is like, it's a storytelling show, but it's all pictures of me around the world making things my cock. Yes, I get it. It's dumb, it's stupid, it's very juvenile. But now I'm wanting to hand it over to a female performer who does the show verbatim. And then there's no and then Jon did this. They do everything exactly the same. Still photos of me. And we do the show as I'm sure, what I want somewhere for people to be like, this is like a feminist masterpiece. You know, that sort of like, we're overtaking it all, and I think that'll be a great thing.
Are you doing Vancouver Fringe?
Yeah.
Okay, so after your tour, give me the script.
Yeah.
And then you come back, and we'll do that here.
That
We'll
would be
live stream
wonderful.
The woman version.
I think
of
it'll
your
be
show.
great. I think there's going to be people just going like, that's not her.
What's happening?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like you performing at the nursing home.
Yeah,
So
oh
you're
yeah,
gonna go,
maybe.
I don't know what's happening. But
And
you
that
like
nursing home story, that's my favorite type of audience now, is where people are just like, what's happening now? Yeah.
Well, and I have to bring this up too, but you also are part of the Edinburgh Fringe of the show, 60 Minutes. What's the exact title? I don't want to butcher
Okay.
it.
We've toured this show for about 12 years now. and it's been at festivals all around the world. It's called A Young Man Dressed as a Gorilla, Dresses as an Old Man, Sits in a Rocking Chair and Rocks for 56 minutes and then leaves. And that is all that happens. And it will sell out a 1,000-seat theater, and it is just a gorilla in a rocking chair. That's it.
Were you one of the creators of it?
I was the second ever gorilla.
Okay, that's
so I didn't start the show, and now once people find out if you're the gorilla, you have to hand it on to someone else.
Okay.
This is also a show where, I'll tell you an insider secret, whenever I do the show now, I make it a woman who's the gorilla, because it's just the name of the show, right?
Right.
A young man dressed as a gorilla dresses as an old man, and so I make it a woman because people are like, oh, who would have seen? There it is. There's the. There it is.
Sell out,
Good on you.
especially.
Yeah.
And people have, it's been like Rocky Horror, like people start participating, doing things.
People lose their minds. There's lots of nudity. There's lots of.
So the audience becomes the show.
The audience is definitely the show. If you add to the show, if you facilitate the gorilla, then you are celebrated. If you take and make it about yourself, you are booed and ridiculed until some people have to leave. Because they're just like, oh, I fucked up. I better get out of here.
And that protects the gorilla, though, too. The
Yes.
person, the gorilla.
Yes, it's seen as very high art.
Well,
Very conceptual.
yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of like shushing and you know this.
And heckling.
He's doing the best.
Shushing and heckling.
This is the best bit. This is my favorite bit. And if the gorilla moves his hand, standing ovation.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being
Thanks for
here.
having me.
Jon Bennet, everybody. Yay. Oh, what a delight. I'm ready for some music.
Yes.
Are you ready for
let's
some
do it.
music? This is a returning musical guest, one of our all-time favorites. Please welcome Kris Doty. Sorry, we didn't give you more warning, Kris.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Is this thing on?
Yeah. instrument. Come on over, Kris.
Yeah, it's so big.
It is so big. And it makes you look tiny next to it.
That's why I play it.
Yeah. Have you been playing upright bass since your childhood, or something you picked up later, or?
I started in high school because I was playing a jazz band, so that's, I don't know, 25 years ago.
That's a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
Were you playing other instruments and switched, or did you? Is that?
Yeah. I played flute in like, what is it called, concert band.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really like it. It was too. I don't know. It just didn't suit me.
Yeah, well,
It
I'd
was
say
too little. I
flute
guess.
to upright bass is a very big change on so many levels. Yeah, you can just carry a little tiny thing, but instead, does the top come off on some of them ever? I've seen some cases with.
You know, I think maybe there are some hybrids that are electric.
Okay.
But not. This one's like plywood.
Wow.
So it's not a very fancy one, but it's made it really nice for touring because it's durable.
That's great.
It feels like you can use it as like a raft too if you need to. If you were ever in a position, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hannah's always thinking about
Survival.
safety.
Right.
If the worst case scenario happens.
Coronavirus, which is like escape from your upright bass.
I did once sleep in the case
Oh my God!
because it's really thick and warm, and I just zipped it up and it's like a little
What?
window.
Where were you?
I shouldn't have told this story.
Where were you?
Need to know.
At home?
No. That would be weird.
I need a break from the bed.
Yeah. Like I want to be.
So I went to a Super Bowl party. I don't really like football, and my boyfriend at the time had a friend that was a girl that was like, "We need to do Jaeger shots." I'm like, ugh. And she just kept. Anyway, I got drunk, and then I had a studio upstairs where I taught lessons, and I was like, well, I don't want to drive, and I got to work at the coffee shop at 5 in the morning. So I just like walked up to my studio and I'm like, it's not my best moment, but it saved my life in a way.
Survival.
For
You have to
sure.
do it.
If I were on Naked and Afraid, and I could bring one thing, it would be an upright bass case.
Yeah.
Also, cats love it.
Yeah, I bet.
really?
I bet. I just love how unique your whole thing is. To have somebody singing and playing upright bass is so rare.
Yeah.
Your voice is great and unique and so specific to you. Where can people see you around? Are you performing solo and with bands, right?
Yeah.
So where can people see you personally? Anything coming up?
I don't have anything solo lined up right now. It's mostly, I play in a band called Kids. It's not, my dad thinks when I tell him my band name, he's like, so you're playing for little kids then? No, it's the name of the band.
It made me think of isn't there a really dark movie called Kids?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's more what it made me think
I
of.
almost didn't, I was like, maybe we shouldn't name it that. But it stuck.
Yeah.
We're playing at, what's it called? Blackwater. It's
Oh,
an
cool.
all-ages show.
Yeah.
On March 10th.
That's like on Wilder, yeah? Or Broadway? Or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right there.
It's close to here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before.
All right. And then if people want to listen to your music, Spotify.
We are on Bandcamp under Kids Love Fuzz, and then I have my own music under Kris Doty. It's Kris with a K. Probably no one knows how to spell Doty either.
It's D-O-T-Y. We had it up there, and we will again when you come back and play another song. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Kris Doty, everybody. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we talked a lot about the news, and you know, there's a lot about where boundaries are in voting areas, and Bill is our expert in a lot of historical and political arenas, and he has prepared a proposal for us all that might speak to this situation. Give a round of applause to Bill McKinley.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you. Currently, there is a petition by rural Oregon Republicans to move parts of the state into Idaho because they don't like Portland and have a problem when elections are decided by popular vote. As you can see from this map, they want to move the border all the way to the Pacific Ocean, which is crazy, right? I mean, who would arbitrarily make boundaries with no regard for the people who actually live there? And then I remembered, I'm a white man in America, and we've been doing it for over 500 years. So since this is what we're doing again, I present to you new states. First of all, let's start with the first state, Delaware. I don't actually know anyone from Delaware, and you probably don't either. Joe Biden notwithstanding. Well, okay, if you are, this pertains to you. If America were Europe, Delaware would be one of those microstates with inbred royalty like Luxembourg. Look at it! It's just hanging on to its more popular brother, Maryland. It's the Chadlow of states. The Dave Franco of states. The Frank Stallone of states. Done. You're part of Big Maryland now. Next, why do we need 2 Dakotas? Furthermore, why do we need 1 Dakota? Done and done. You're with Minnesota, which will be renamed Maxisota. A wonderful land where no carbonated beverage will be less than 64 ounces by state law. Michigan! What's going on here? There's a whole part up there that isn't connected to the mitten. Meanwhile, Wisconsin over there, that's actually connected to that part, has a hat that's cold because it doesn't have a hat. Boom. The UP is renamed the Wisconsin hat, and Michigan is just a mitten again. The state of Rhode Island is not an island, currently. Let's make a moat around it. Now, it's an island. Maybe we'll put a tether on it, maybe we won't. Depends on how much you miss it. The Four Corners, where 4 states meet in an arbitrary location because somebody in the Maps Bureau wanted to leave early on a Friday afternoon, grabbed a ruler, and made some right angles. I'm a rectangle. Oh, really? I'm a rectangle, too. I'm fucking bored. So since we can't tell them apart, we change the names counterclockwise. New Mexico becomes Arizona, Arizona becomes Utah, Utah becomes Colorado, which makes weed legal there now. You're welcome, Mormons. Now, I don't know if it's because I've been looking at maps for too long, or maybe I'm just running out of juice, but do you know what Pennsylvania looks like? That little battery icon on your smartphone without the little nub at the top. So let's shave off West Virginia and part of Ohio, and now Pennsylvania is America's low battery bar. We should be at Pittsburgh, but we're at Philadelphia now. You'd better plug us in. Also, it turns Ohio into a C, which makes sense because as a state, it's incredibly average. The state color is beige. The state flower is concrete. The state motto is, it's fine. Now, we're going to need presidential support to make these things a reality. So we are redrawing the lines of Kansas to include both Kansas cities. However, Kansas will now merge with Arkansas to become Kansas. Because we pronounce the S on the end of things in America. In return, Missouri City, Texas will now be part of Missouri. So don't be afraid to dream big, America. If you don't like the way things are going, change it. And if we're lucky, we'll make a new America. And if we're unlucky, maybe Canada moves the border. Stacey?
Thank you, Bill McKinley, everybody! I'm in support of Canada absorbing Washington. Oregon and upper California. Northern
Change is
California.
possible.
It is. I feel like everything Bill proposed there is extremely logical.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do what I can.
And just so you all know, he's from Ohio.
I am.
So Great Tennessee.
I can say that shit.
That comes from home. All right. Well, we have another storyteller. Today is about storytelling. We're going to bring her on. Please welcome Kahlie Towle.
I have a disclaimer. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I have a disclaimer. I was asked to dress like I dress for work. This is not how I go out in the evenings. About 14 years ago, there was a time when I needed a good therapist. And instead of getting a good therapist, I became obsessed with a feral cat colony that was outside of my row house. I was losing sleep at night about what was happening with all these kittens that were being born. And because I worked in veterinary medicine, I felt an overwhelming responsibility to do something about this problem that's everywhere, not just on the property adjacent to mine. And I got some live traps, and I got some veterinarian friends of mine to agree to be on call to spay and or neuter whatever cat that I caught. And then I could safely release them back into the population so they couldn't keep creating. And this happened for a while, and things went really well until one day I live trapped a kitten. She was about 8 weeks old, and she was literally a little wild animal. I know some people think they know what a feral cat is, and I don't want to insult you, but you don't. So feral cats are wild animals. Like, there are raccoons that look like cats. They don't domesticate. The rule of thumb is, if you want to domesticate a feral cat, you have to get them before the age of 5 weeks, because after that, you can't do it. Another thing that I've struggled with my whole life is just thinking that the rules apply to me. So when I trapped this kitten and took her into the hospital, and she was literally just out of her mind with fear and charging the kennel, and so at 8 weeks they weigh about 2 pounds max, and she's threatening these giant people because she's so afraid. We gave her drugs to knock her out because she was old enough to spay, and then once I had her in my hands, she was just so little, and I just didn't believe that I couldn't make a difference in her life. I just couldn't imagine giving her the surgery and then releasing her back into her colony, and I knew if I didn't release her right away, she was actually not going to do as well. At the time, like I said, I was dealing with some shit, and I had already taken home 2 other kittens that were domestic and were bottle babies. And so I was like their whole world, and they were about one was 6 weeks, one was 12 weeks, and so I was like, I'm gonna bring her home, I'm gonna put her with these 2 kittens that have imprinted on me, they're gonna show her I'm amazing, and we're just gonna break the mold, she's gonna love me. And so, against the advice of every person that I knew in the profession, I brought this kitten home from her spay. I put her with my 2 other kittens, and she did do great with them. She loved them. She was eating, she was drinking, she was using the litter box. She even liked my pit bull. She would sleep with him, but she fucking hated me. Period. Like, I walked into the room and she would threaten me. I named her Lyra because I had just read The Golden Compass, and I thought she was just going to be this great, amazing explorer, wonderful kitten. And it got to the point where I would walk in the room and she would hiss, and I'd be like, "Fuck you, Lyra," and then we would just go on with our lives. Which sounds really cold, but we really had this. She never forgave me for what I did to her, and releasing her wasn't an option. So fast forward a couple of years, Lyra's been doing great, living with everyone else in the house, and my cousin moves in with me for a couple of months after a bad breakup, and she calls me, I'm out with friends, and she calls me and she says, "You gotta come home now, something is wrong with Lyra, I need your help." And she's also a veterinary technician, so I was like, what do you need my help with? Like, what's happening? And she was like, "You just gotta get here." So I race home, I walk in the door, and I find Katy, my cousin. She's on the couch with her knees up against her, hugging her knees. And I hear this ruckus, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then out of the kitchen comes running Lyra. And Lyra has somehow gotten herself into like the Old Navy bags, like when you just buy a ton of shit, back when we used to get paper bags from Old Navy, and they have like the woven handles that are secured to the bag. Lyra has gone through that loop handle and the bag is attached to her and she's running for her life from this bag. So now I'm doing the math, like she's been running for at least 45 minutes. And if you, again, back to the whole feral cat thing, they're like Jackie Chan. So Lyra comes running into the living room. She runs straight to the wall, no slowing down, like no brakes, no hesitation. She runs to the wall, she runs straight up the wall. She hits the ceiling, and then she free falls down. And I'm like, my God, she is going to, at best, blow out a knee. She's gonna break a leg. And I'm trying to figure out what am I gonna do? And while I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, Lyra's not just like hanging tight, waiting for a solution. You know, now she's in the kitchen, she's run across the kitchen table and everything on the table is off on the ground and it's everything that she does, every like wreckage in her path is scaring her further. And so I say to Katy, okay, I have a plan. I'm gonna go upstairs because in this row house, there's just a tiny hallway upstairs. I'm gonna go upstairs, I'm gonna get my hiking sticks. I got these hiking sticks like for like backcountry rocky, so they're pointed. And I said, I'm gonna get my hiking sticks. I'm gonna go upstairs, I'm gonna close all the doors. When she makes her next run upstairs, because for sure she's going to, I'm gonna step out of the bathroom with the hiking sticks. You block her at the stairs. Don't let her run down. And when she runs back to me, I'm gonna stab the bag and then she can just run out of the bag. And so Katy's like, okay, I got this. So I go up, I set everything up, Lyra comes running up the stairs, Katy's up the stairs behind her. I step out, I go to stab her and then I realize like, I could stab her, not the bag. And so I have this like moment of hesitation and I stab, but I miss the bag. She runs past me, she runs towards Katy and Katy's like, that, and Lyra's down the stairs. And I'm like, is that your fucking A game that you just brought to this? And Katy says, I don't want to get bit. I don't want to get scratched. And I'm like, okay. So I come up with a new plan. And in the meantime, Lyra is still, she's running up the walls. Now she's brought the curtains down in the living room. And so Katy, I get her a giant cushion from the couch. And I say, okay, now you've got this cushion, use this cushion to like protect yourself. And we get Lyra back up the stairs, and this time I'm just like bam, bam, and I stab her, not her, sorry, did not stab the cat. I stab the bag, and I catch the bag, and she runs out of the bag, and everyone is safe and sound. And so that was, Lyra lived about 14 years. Unfortunately, she had renal failure, but she lived about 14 years in my house, and she was not A, grateful that I saved her, and B, she never softened to me, though, like I said, she accepted, I even got a new puppy. She was fine with this dog too, and sleeping with this dog on the couch, but to her dying day, when I would walk in the room, this poor cat, I just remembered our first meeting, and never forgave me for it.
All right, Kahlie. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. You know, I have friends who went in to adopt a cat at a humane society, and it trashed all three of them. It was a couple and their child, and they got scratched.
Oh, that's so sad.
Was it a feral cat, do you think?
Maybe. It's hard. I hate to think this humane society would do that to the cat and to them, though. I have a hard time with that whole
maybe
story.
they didn't identify
Yeah,
that
they didn't
it was
identify
a
that it was a feral cat. Maybe in the kennel situation it was just there's a thing called cage crazy with cats.
Oh, really?
And they don't reveal themselves in the kennel setting, and so maybe that was the case. It was too afraid to move or do something. Then they got it home and it showed its real self. And probably
it was there they hadn't even gotten it home.
Oh, it trashed them at the humane society. Yeah.
So cage crazy?
Yeah, cage crazy.
Wow.
And who knows how long that poor cat had been in the kennel, and then they get it out. They get this cat out that's been in the kennel for however many hundreds of days, potentially hand it to people they don't know, and then expect it to be a sweet encounter.
Yeah.
Which is unfair.
Yeah. So you've been working with animals since you were 14 years old, and you just knew, like, has this just been your calling?
Never a question. When I turned 14, I went and got my worker's permit. And I went and got a job as a farmhand and managed cattle and sheep herds until I was 19.
I feel like love for animals is our theme tonight with Jon's.
It's true, yeah.
Those koalas and
your skunks.
That's right,
Yeah.
the skunks and the kangaroos. What you do? Horse? You're a horse?
I don't currently do horse, but I have a long history with doing horse. working in an equine specialty surgery center.
And so that takes extra training and knowledge.
Extra
doesn't it?
all the things.
Yeah.
Extra all the things, yeah.
I feel like horses are one of those things that I would love to feel more comfortable around, but it's like swimming or riding a bike. Like if you don't do it as a kid, it's hard to overcome that anxiety.
I could see where if someone didn't have exposure, that it would be difficult to get comfortable around, you know, a small horse is 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I could see that. I can't. It's foreign to me because I've always known them, but
Oh, yeah.
I could see that.
Like you read Black Beauty and you're like, this is gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Fun. And
Yeah.
then
No, that's not.
it's so scary.
Well, and they're not all Black Beauty. I
Right,
mean,
that's
they
true.
can hate you too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like Appaloosas are known for having attitude problems and Arabs, but I grew up around Appaloosas and Arabs, and it's pretty rare that a horse surprises you if you understand horses.
Mm-hmm. Are you from Oregon originally?
No, I grew up in rural Idaho
Okay.
and rural ranching community.
Was your family raising animals as well?
Yes, both of my brothers still do.
Okay.
They still ranch. They're actually in Washington now, but they still ranch.
That's amazing. And then in your photo, there was a Bernese mountain dog. Is that your current
She's
dog?
the love of my life.
Oh.
Yeah. Her name is Letty. She's perfectly, wonderfully horrible. I love it. I love everything about her. I love everything about her.
I've been fantasizing about getting, a Bernedoodle.
Oh, that's my girl. God, I love that dog.
And because this will be my third, I'll probably be getting another dog in the next year or two. And the Bernese, he knows my current dog.
What do you have now?
I have a failed puggle.
Oh.
Puggles are supposed to look a certain, like they're supposed to be like bigger pugs with the curl and the mush. It just looks like a large beagle for
Yeah,
some reason.
I've
Well,
seen
thank
it. There's
goodness,
a lot of.
That
Arlo's
means
a
it
big,
has,
tall,
if it looks like a
40-pound
big beagle,
beagle.
then that
Yeah.
means it has an airway, so.
Yes, he does. He doesn't have a
Right.
smush face, which is why I think I get I love smush face dogs, but I have a lot of ethical issues with it.
Well, that's like me with pure breeds in general. I didn't go purchase her. She came to me, but yeah,
How did she come to you?
I worked in a hospital where her breeder was a veterinarian there, and she had a litter and had kept 4 of them, and her husband said no, and so she had to choose some to rehome, and she came to me and said, would you consider taking one? And I said, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the breed.
Yeah, what is the worst thing about the breed? Because otherwise I'm going to have one very soon.
Oh,
So
God.
what do you think?
So here's what I tell Letty. I tell her this, and I think she understands it. So I tell her for every bad thing about her, there are 1,000 good things, which means that there are thousands and thousands of good things about her, because she really is. So they're entitled, they're stubborn, they're strong, and to say that they're food motivated is a massive understatement.
And it sounds like my beagle, really.
Right.
He's all over
Imagine
the
your
place.
beagle where their head is countertop level. That's a puggle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came out all beagle.
How? What? That's.
And tall. I don't know why he's very
I'm a
posty
big
legs.
fan of both breeds, but
Yeah.
I love beagles.
Yeah,
so.
he's a really good boy.
That's a
like-
good looking boy.
But he's very stubborn. And,
Of course
and
he
the
is.
That's a
selective-
beagle.
Well, selective deafness is a
Right.
thing that
How old is he?
he's 14, so
So
it's
he
gotten
might
really
really
worse.
be.
I don't think so.
Take the hound.
If I can crack an egg and he can be up in the bedroom and I'll hear him go thump thump and come running down. We can be lying at my feet and I'll be like, Arlo, Arlo, and he's just like, no, you can hear me. And he's just like, I'm old. I don't care.
He knows that whatever you want is not going to be for him, right? He's a hound dog.
He is. He's not.
So, right,
He doesn't
he's
want
a
to be
hound.
like cuddled. He just wants to sniff and walk and sleep.
Right.
So he's either running. He wants to either be moving or he's passed out. He doesn't like play a lot. Like I'll throw a thing, he'll go get it and come back and lay down and then fall asleep.
Letty, I throw a ball and she's like, you threw it.
Yeah.
You want it so bad, it's over there.
That's amazing. I love it. And so you also produce Rough Draft.
I do.
Tell us about Rough Draft.
Rough Draft is it's an open mic storytelling show that is actually set up to help. The vision was like the next wave of storytellers. And so the idea behind it is these folks get to come, put their name in the hat, have that experience of not knowing if they're going to be called and if they get called, in what order. And then when their names do get called and they tell a story in front of the audience, we have a panel of 3 local professionals or celebrities at some level of performance. And then these folks, they donate their time, and then they give feedback to the storyteller right there in front of the audience. And all of the feedback is geared towards being better next time. And the audience then gets to see that whole experience. So that's the idea behind it. Like folks that are just curious and folks that really want to hone their craft. It's hopefully for both.
Great. So if somebody here wants to participate, start telling some stories, how do they find out about Rough Draft? Where do they go?
We're on Facebook. It's under the umbrella of 7 Deadly Sins. So 7 Deadly Sins is actually partnered with Curious for our main stage shows. And we have business cards out there on the table where it says take a card. And then also we're on Facebook, which is where we do our announcements. And if you go to the 7 Deadly Sins page, you can see upcoming events. And we have several different shows that happen, and Rough Draft is just one of them.
When's the next Rough Draft?
It's going to be in April, a date to be announced, because we just relocated. We're going to be at Sante Bar in Portland, and we're finding the best date for Sante to launch it as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm just like imagining how much animal knowledge is in that brain that I would love to have. Just start naming off types of horses and each of the attitudes. You know, it's just awesome. But we're at that time where we're almost done with our show tonight. We're just gonna wrap it up with one more song. Please give it up again for Kris Doty.
I'm glad everyone came today. Lance and Lana, I believe you've got something you wanted to share.
I needed to find something to fulfill my urges.